Angela Ahimsa, and you've tuned into Feed Your Chakras, streaming worldwide on Jess TV, Roku, Meta, and the NCG television network. Today's guest is Marta Pap, who is a licensed psychotherapist, a holistic healer, and Reiki master teacher, who has over a decade of experience guiding individuals, couples, and professionals towards emotional balance and soul-centered well-being. With a master's in counseling psychotherapy from the University of Toronto, Marta bridges evidence-based psychology with the art of energy healing, blending mindfulness, emotional awareness, and chakra balancing into a truly integrative approach to healing. And in this conversation today, we're going to explore the psychology applications of the chakras and how emotions are stored within the body, how this creates energetic imbalances, and can also mirror involved experiences, and how conscious awareness can help us release what no longer serves us. So if you've ever wondered about the science and the spirit behind the chakra system, you're going to find it out today. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Marta.
Thank you, Angela.
Is there like a little bit of an echo on your end? I don't know. Anyways, we'll just move on. Okay, so today we're going to start from each chakra, and I know Marta for, I don't even know how many years, maybe 9 years. I did my Reiki master way back many years ago, and we both evolved in different directions since then, but I've known her for a very long time, and I'm just glad to have her here today.
Thank you.
Yes. I hear a reverb. I just wish we could figure that out. Do you have another speaker or anything on?
Let's see.
Okay. Just give you a second for that. Okay. Well, anyways, we'll just move on because I don't think we're going to figure that out today. Don't worry about it. It's okay. It's okay. If it gets really bad, we'll do it. Anyways. So let's begin with psychotherapy and chakra healing. And how do you think that the two intersect?
I have a career. I started being really interested in the energetic system and the chakras while being a Reiki master teacher. I taught about the chakras and how the energy system affects the way we feel. And then I have become a psychotherapist, psychotherapy does not really talk about the energetic system. So it's actually two different type of school of study. But in psychotherapy, what we can do is explore a person's spiritual beliefs and see if they have stored trauma in the energetic system. And throughout this exploration, we can release some of those blocks through talk therapy with the clients. Yes, so I try to sort of combine, my knowledge from many years of the energetic healing with the psychotherapy principles.
Okay. So how does emotional energy in motion, what does that mean from a psychological standpoint?
Sorry, could you repeat this question?
Emotional energy. You mentioned that you can, work with people's emotions and their beliefs. What does emotional energy mean from a psychological perspective?
I'm not sure, sorry, what you mean. In psychotherapy, we work with emotion-focused therapy, and through that, the client tells me, how they are feeling, and I guess, as a client is working through their own blockages, we can explore where the emotions are stored in the body and work through somatic experiencing to release those emotions.
Okay. Okay, so let's go into the psychology of the root chakra, which is our foundation. It's our basic survival needs: safety, survival, belonging, family. What does that instability? Like, how does that show up in a lot of your clients?
Well, many clients grow up, they have childhood trauma, so they are experiencing challenges when they grow up, and as a result, they have problem finding safety, security, or they have trouble finding themselves in their profession. So all of this would be something that is usually detected sort of in the root chakra area.
Okay.
Yeah. So then people are working with their root chakra. They are able to sort of release some of those past traumas and find more balance, stability in life.
Okay. Do you find, like, I know that, everybody has their own traumas and life experiences that shape their reality. Do you find that the root chakra is one of the biggest kind of blockages that you experience in your patients?
No, not at all. Everybody has different blockages. Root chakra is just one of the many. So, no, I actually find people usually have more than one blockage, and it varies. Root chakra is just one. Root chakra tend to be the block for spiritual people, because spiritual people are in their higher chakras and they are not finding themselves on earth.
Yes, that's very true. From a psychological standpoint, how do you think early childhood experiences wire our sense of safety, and how does that show up in the real world in connection to the root?
Well, again, it's so I cannot really correlate, because again, I have to be very clear that psychotherapy is not there is no study on chakras that is accepted by psychotherapy.
You don't have to use the word chakras, okay? We can understand it as an energy, okay?
Yes, but I just have to be clear, because psychotherapy is more talking. There are different modalities, and
okay, that's fine.
Yes. So, sorry, can you repeat your question so I can?
From a psychological standpoint, how does our early childhood experience wire our sense of safety?
Well, yeah, I mean, so basically people with childhood trauma, they are searching for safety. And if they decide to work on their root chakra by releasing certain energetic blocks, then they are able to find more safety, security.
Okay, so how would you suggest that people, go about that?
So during
more grounded or stable.
Yeah, we discover where the client is feeling unstable or where that safety was triggered for them. We dig deeper into their childhood. How was it triggered? Was it domestic abuse, or how was the family situation? And by discovering what they remember from their childhood, we are able to go through and sort of work through those childhood traumas. And that will allow the person to feel more safe and find themselves more.
Okay. And we mentioned the feeling of safety and security. Why do you think so many people equate that with control?
So control is in the solar plexus. So and the sacral chakra has more of that. What you mentioned, the creativity and feminine, masculine energy. So I think when people are working through their sensing where the blockage is within where the tension lies within their energetic system, then they are overall finding more of a balance in life. But solar plexus is sort of is more the area of control or leadership. It's just the tension is stored in different places in the body, and so when
it depends on what kind of control, but I get what you're saying. Okay. So when someone says that they're ungrounded, we hear that a lot. What is actually happening to them psychologically?
Well, I guess they don't have that safety feeling, or they don't know where they are going. They are feeling lost, a sense of loss. Yeah, no direction in their life. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's psychologically, people can feel lost. So when people are coming to me because of their career, they are looking for a sense of life purpose. Then we work through these areas, sort of in the root chakra, and seeing where that comes from and how they can find their balance and safety.
Okay. One last question before we move on to the sacral. What do you find is kind of one of the overarching themes of root chakra imbalances, or the sense of, not belonging, or, security, or financial security, or however it wants to show up? Like, do you find that there's a common theme that you see in a lot of your patients?
Oh yes, certainly. The more spiritual people have a hard time finding, that safety, security, financial freedom. And if somebody is yeah, I mean, when we work through these areas, and someone finds more grounded, then they are able to find themselves and find sort of the self-actualization. So yeah. Mm-hmm. They can become more successful. And but again, I find that it's not just about one. You can never just distinctively say somebody is blocked just in the root chakra. It's a combination, and so then we discover where that's coming from, and the correlation, and then yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the solar plexus. For anybody unfamiliar, sacral chakra, which is the second of the seven majors, and it's the orange chakra, governed by the psychology of our emotion, our pleasure, our creativity, our joy, and also by, shame and guilt, and these are the lower end of the vibrations. Many people intellectualize emotions instead of feeling them. People don't, they do anything to avoid their emotions, but we know that you have to feel it to heal it. From your perspective, what does emotional repression do to the sacral chakra?
Well, yeah, definitely closes it up.
Mm-hmm. How would that show up?
Oh, people are unable to live out their sensuality, intimacy. Their relationship is blocked. It comes a lot of times when, say, for example, people come from families that have certain beliefs about prearranged marriages, for example. People cannot live out their sensuality or creativity. So if somebody represses those, then that sacral chakra becomes blocked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the sacral chakra is all about feeling good. And so when you're put into situations where you can't, it's also about expression of kind of your creative nature, And so when you're not able to do that, and you're not giving yourself permission to feel joy, or you're not given permission to feel joy, that does create that imbalance. And I wanted to touch more on, how those emotions can impact our lives. So what would that make, how would that show up? Would somebody all of a sudden, be ashamed, want to cover up more, they don't want to express their emotions? It's also about your emotions, right? Because it's governed by the water. So, people can't, what happens, when you pull the emotions in, it can actually manifest as a physical symptom as well, right? So I kind of wanted to go down that route.
Yes, definitely lower back pain, hip pain, again, maybe for women, reproduction issues, or relationship issues. So those are the sacral chakra blockages that manifest in various ways.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And shame is a really big one, because like in the chakras we have the balance, the harmonized, we have active and underactive. Like it's about bringing it into balance. You can be open and out of alignment, but shame is definitely on the lower end, and shame can really affect our bodies, right? Because our cells are holders of information, and whatever emotions, energy and motion that we're embodying, this can manifest in certain ways. So how does shame, particularly around sexual or creativity, sexual energy and creativity, how does that store in the body or show up in a manifestation?
Well, as you said, it's blocking the sacral chakra. The shame is a low frequency, so people need to release it by either doing some nice yoga, kundalini exercises, or chakra dance, where they can release their emotions and open up, and or feel safe with a partner to enjoy intimacy. And so overcoming those emotions can be with various exercises. And you are a wonderful yoga teacher, so you know how we can release the sacral chakra block.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somatic movement is very good for the sacral chakra. That being said, we carry a lot of our emotions in the hips, and so that's why people get a lot of tight hips when they're under stress or they're having some sort of emotional turmoil in their life. So it's really important to do that. But I actually find out of everything, dance is kind of the most liberating, because it's just it's about expression. It's not even you following or striking the certain pose, you know what I mean, or following the flow. It's just about being free, and that's really what the sacral chakra is about, is free flowing, right?
Yes, and the Kundalini energy actually starts from here. So, like when people have that Kundalini awakening, a lot of energy gets released. And that's also the life force, which is connected to our spine. So, definitely, when people open themselves up to healing, then a lot of this release can liberate people a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's the psychology behind fear of pleasure or sensuality?
Well, again, what you said is about shame. So when people are brought up in different families, they have different teachings about sensuality, how to be with a partner. So that definitely, psychologically can block somebody. And so working through these areas can really help to open up the energy and release the tension from this area. And a lot of the times, women who have reproductive issues, they come to see me, and it is really a lot of emotions are stored in the sacral chakra. So through different, even tapping and different type of somatic experiencing can release breath work, or even, just different types of bioenergetic movements can really nicely open up these areas. Many people say that they've been going to therapy for many years and nothing changes, but when they actually tap into their body, mind, and spirit, that's when the changes can happen and the transformation can happen.
I like to hear about having other people's beliefs or expectations projected onto us, because that's exactly what this chakra is about. It's about authentic expression and in kind of like your emotional form and sensuality and all this stuff. So when we are under the impression that it's not safe, because it all connects to other chakras, it's not safe to be yourself, or you're not allowed to do that, that's what blocks this chakra and creates those very detrimental emotions like shame or guilt, just for that self-expression. So that's really important, that we need to really honor our truth.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. Unless there's anything else that you wanted to touch on the sacral chakra before we move on to the solar plexus.
But you know, some of my clients have experienced the Kundalini awakening, and that's really quite wonderful with sacral chakra to release all of those stored emotions. So in Europe, Kundalini activation is very popular, so it's a nice practice for people with this type of spiritual belief. They may be able to experience those higher energies.
Yeah, I'm like a little like skeptical on that, because I feel that a Kundalini awakening has to come to somebody when they're prepared and their body is able to fully embody that type of energy, because it's an awakening not just in the physical body, but it's also you coming into form. And so having these gurus or whatever come, you know, and just coming in and activating people, and they've never used any of these tools or anything to really integrate the inner work that's needed to really work with that energy. You know, I find that is kind of, I don't know, I'm like on the fence about it, because I feel that we all need to have Kundalini awakenings, but it's like doing the work. Like you need to do the shadow work yourself. You can't just have some outside source coming in and activating you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the activation can release some of the tension, and then people can have realization through that, which is actually, I've done about 5 activations this summer in August in Spain. And I have to say, I never thought I would be able to release so much in a month, you know. So these type of spiritual experiences are there to help people start the process, because sometimes when we just try to solve something in our mind, is not, we are not able to get the same results as if we combine sort of the body movement, and this Kundalini activation is really quite powerful. I actually have become a facilitator because I was so fascinated by it, and so I really seen wonderful results as a result of that. So you know, there are all these beautiful practices, spiritual practices that can enhance the healing process.
No, that's a good word, enhance. It's just like doing like an ayahuasca ceremony or some sort of plant medicine, right? Like you can do the ceremony and experience the awakening, but if you don't integrate those lessons and do the work, it's like peeling one little layer off of the onion.
Exactly, but I find that people who really commit to different practices, they see results. I find my clients, you know,
committing, that's doing the work, right? that's like my point here.
Yeah, exactly. When you are ready, and when you do want to do something and try it out, and I feel most of the time my clients are very dedicated, you know, and when they do a practice, it really does show results. So this is quite powerful. Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving on to the solar plexus now, which is it's our 3rd chakra. It is kind of here in the diaphragm, and it is our ego. It's our sense of personal power, our identity, our sense of self-worth, and basically our confidence. And it is the 3rd chakra, and the lower 3 chakras are governed by the material world. And so in this self-belief and personal empowerment is how we manifest. This is your manifestation center. So I'm excited to jump into this one. What do you think are the subconscious ways, Marta, that people give away their power?
That's a good one. What I've noticed, and this is from my energy healing experience, is that the solar plexus gets cluttered by a lot of anxiety and stress. People take up a lot of that energy throughout the day, and that really affects stomach, digestion, and that takes away personal power. So they lose self-esteem, confidence. And that's all of this here in the solar plexus, so many clients who are in corporate jobs, they end up having a lot of challenge with their stomach digestion. They cannot really, they lose their personal powers. And so the solar plexus is a huge center and very, really when we clear the energy, the tension from this area, people can manifest anything. Then the power comes back to people. Because I think people give away their power too easily,
Mm-hmm.
trying to please our boss or please our partners or please our children, or maybe the other end where we try to control too many things, and then people have a sense of loss in the solar plexus and it's out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
So when we balance the solar plexus, that's when somebody can manifest, because then the energy is back to radiating, and then it's easy to manifest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's radiating. It's a good word, because this is also the fire element. And so when you're in your personal power, it's like you are this ball of light and you're putting that energy out. So when it's positive and happy and aligned, with your emotions and you're feeling grounded, you can become a manifesting magnet. But a lot of people, and we've mentioned the unresolved childhood conditioning and traumas and all of these things that can impact our emotions and our sense of safety and security, also impact our sense of worth and our confidence and our self-esteem. So even successful people struggle, or even like the most talented people, like they struggle with imposter syndrome, or that they don't think that they're enough. Can you talk about the fine line between being balanced and being imbalanced? So like healthy ambition versus ego-driven control?
Yeah, for sure. The solar plexus is where fear manifests. So if somebody is fearful, then they lose the power. Or if they tune into the love energy, then, the fear goes away. So sometimes just even trusting, somebody will be able to start manifesting. And so, this, and here, yes, I mean, this world is just challenging to a lot of people. There's a lot of greed and egos, and even in the political situation, so people are struggling to find balance. There's a lot of ego play in this world, and so trying to tune that out. Like, for example, Toronto is a very busy city, so people are anxious, and that there is a survival mode which brings people in that egoistic, sort of tendencies. It's the fear, that lower frequency. All of those lower frequencies block the solar plexus. So when we release that fear, that those type of energies, then we become into that healthy self-esteem and confidence, where we can use our own strength. I have clients who feel powerless in this world, and they have so many great gifts. When they feel fearless, when they feel the fear, then they cannot perform at their job or at home, and it's we try to clear that in order for them to feel that sense of power, that they came here with a special purpose, and that they can make a difference in other people's lives, and then they step into their leadership, but a healthy leadership. And
Okay, so let's just break this up. So we'll just give you some examples of what a balanced and open solar plexus chakra would look like versus an imbalanced, and feel free to jump in and do some stuff. But like a balanced chakra would show up like you can assert yourself. You're not afraid to take chances. You are confident in your beliefs, and you also are confident in other people, and you lift them up. because you're not threatened by other people's success because there's enough success for everybody. So that's kind of the mentality and the energy, and just that knowing and belief in yourself is what makes opportunities come to you. It is what makes the things manifest quickly. It is what makes you the one that gets chosen for whatever, because people see and feel that sense of belief. Whereas an imbalanced chakra, solar plexus chakra, might show up as, you never get picked for something, or you are threatened by other people's success, or maybe you gossip about them, or maybe you bully other people, or you just don't believe in yourself, so you never take the chance because you're either afraid of success or you're afraid of failure. Anything else that I'm missing? Jump in.
Anything fear-based, that would be lowering the energy here,
I wouldn't say fear, because that gets confused kind of with the root. I'd also say more like uncertain, because it's like that's what triggers the insecurities, right? It's the lack of belief in yourself. So it's the uncertainty, the doubt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so how can we reclaim our personal power without falling into dominance or defensiveness?
Well, as I said, just sort of following the law and stepping into your own sense of strength, self-esteem, confidence, knowing what you came for in this world, and it is very much connected to stomach digestion. So even what people eat is very important for the solar plexus, because once our stomach digestion is, and it's all the core work, if people do core exercise, then they actually strengthen also their leadership skills, self-belief. So that's where sort of, again, going back into our somatic experiencing, people can really elevate their energies that way. Mm-hmm.
No, that's exactly right. Like, we're going to move on to heart just because we have a little bit of time. We have to cover a lot. But yeah, what she said about the somatic is really true. Because even people with, confidence, they have better posture, power posture. They're strong, and it shows up, their inside strength shows up in their outer worlds. Anyway, let's move on to the heart chakra, which is my favorite. It's the portal into the fifth dimension, and it is governed by our ability to love, to be loved, to express love, to feel emotions like grief, forgiveness, showing compassion. What does the psychological attachment look like when the heart chakra, which means in Sanskrit it's anahata, which means unstruck? So when it is struck and we have a broken heart, what does that show up as in the world? Like, what happens to us psychologically and maybe even physiologically?
Yeah, heart is a big one in this world. Sorry, what was your question, Angela? If you could.
We have heart chakra. How does that manifest in the world? Like, what are some of the attachments that come along with that?
Mm-hmm. Well, if somebody has sort of heavy heart, they have difficulty, finding love, compassion, empathy for others, and usually what happens is that, when we open up our heart and open up to giving and receiving love, the energy shifts into a higher dimension, and we can open up ourselves to feeling that love all around. And many people with depression and anxiety, they have a really heavy heart. They have a hard time finding beauty in this world. So usually I try to cultivate self-love for people with depressive symptoms, because they have lost hope in this world, and so by tuning into their hearts and experiencing connection with the heart, they are starting to believe in them, in love in this world, and that is the number one in this world, that when we are thinking with our hearts instead of with our brain, a lot of people find healing, because this world is too much about, making decisions always with the brain. But when we can come back into our hearts, is where the difference starts to show up. But here too, a lot of people get hurt by, different relationships, or even families. If they have a lot of arguments, or a family upbringing, or even during COVID, a lot of people close their hearts. So unfortunately, we always have to consciously work on opening our hearts, but again, in the right to the right people, to the right environment, because sometimes
the world would definitely be better if we functioned from our hearts more. And to what she said, most people are governed by their brain and stuff. Most human beings are only vibrating in the lower chakras, the lower three, which is the solar plexus, the sacral, and the root, which is people being kept in survival mode, or lack mentality, or their emotions are just kind of self-sabotaging them from their true happiness, which is also how we manifest. And then the lack of belief based on materialism and other people's projections is what keeps people imbalanced in the lower realms. And that's why the world is in the state that we are, because everyone's operating from ego. But the root, the heart chakra is the portal. And that's when we ascend the ego and we start to see and speak and act through love, benevolence, through forgiveness, because forgiveness is the biggest thing for healing the heart chakra. And that's when we can actually start to think with our hearts. And that's how we form the new earth.
Yes, exactly. Yes, our heart is beautiful. Once that starts to open up, everything opens up.
Okay, I wanted to go a little bit more on this, but we're running short on time. So let's jump into the throat chakra, which is our fifth chakra. And it's about our authenticity and our ability to express our truths, our boundaries in a loving way. This is because we've ascended. And also to not only talk the talk, but to listen and to receive without reacting, and also to walk the walk. So you're not just speaking the truth, you are living your truth. And this is when we start to get into the self-actualization. So what are the psychological factors that cause people to silence themselves, either through their voice or just silence their truth by, doing things that they're not truly aligned with?
Yes, that's a good question. Again, it can be coming from childhood upbringing, or what people experience throughout their lives. Say, for example, someone was bullied, as in high school or something like that, then they are afraid of speaking up for themselves. So again, it's our conditioning that people experience throughout their lives that creates the throat chakra and our communication center. And so a lot of people who come to me, they have challenge because, say, at work they've been silenced, they're stuck in a job that they don't enjoy so much. And most people have so many talents and so many interests, but they're afraid to explore those. And I usually recommend for people who have hobbies, to really try to connect with what you feel passionate about and start connecting with other like-minded people about it. Like if somebody is into meditation, go into meditation groups where they can actually start expressing themselves, because some people feel that, I'm so strange, what I experience or what I go through is so, it must be so weird, but when you start connecting with the right people, you realize, what I experience, other people experience too. So if you are in the right with the right community, then people start all of a sudden speaking up, and then they feel like connected to their communication center, and they can really feel successful. You know, I have a client who found himself through men groups, you know, like he actually created a men group to deal with men's emotions, because a lot of men, they are conditioned to not be emotional or not express emotions because they are men. That's how they are brought up. And so a lot of men suffer from not being able to express their emotions. And so he actually started a group for men, and his throat chakra suddenly opened because he has found his voice, you know, and he has also encouraged other men to learn how to safely express themselves. So it's we can all open up in the right environment. So. Mm-hmm.
I like that, because it's something that it's very true. It's when we do things or we learn things or initiate things with the intention of helping others, not only are we more supported by benevolent forces, but we also heal ourselves, you know, and it's also one of the best ways to learn is to teach or to share. So we're kind of running short on time, so I want to get through all of the chakras.
So what you are doing with your podcast too is you are, expressing your gifts to others. So it's you really have a nice open throat chakra.
Yeah, it's definitely opened, but it wasn't when we first met. Why do you think that expressing our needs, you know, is more terrifying or difficult for people than expressing our opinions? Because everyone's really to give you an opinion, but so few people are comfortable expressing their boundaries in times or in situations where it's really important that we do that to honor our truth.
Maybe people, are nervous of opening up about their boundaries, or they don't know how to implement it. In Canada, they teach this, but in many countries, like I come from communism, not always people are taught to express boundaries. We are, as women, we have certain expectations to be quiet and to be certain ways. So, it really depends on how people are brought up, what culture they come from. So, it's a lot of different reasons why people may not be able to know how to express their boundaries.
It's so interesting, because it's like, this is why I feel that really, like, before everything, people need to focus on the root, because so much of our own existence and our identity of who we think we are isn't even our own. It's imprinted on us by our culture, our parents, the school system, or our workplace, or friends that we've had for 30 years that, like, really probably don't even have anything in common with anymore, and this is why it's so important to do the work, through the chakra system, I believe anyways, is because, we are all so unique and so beautiful and so gifted and full of purpose and intention, but we're living in this matrix, the society, the lower three chakras, the material world, which is designed to keep us in competition and in structures that don't allow us to really embody our truth and our purpose. And people don't even feel safe to do that.
Yes, and that's because of the money keeps us in that way. Imagine if money is very root chakra. If you were able to remove money from the world and we would be doing exchange for each other, it's already number one solution for the root problem.
I had a 5D download on that, like many years ago, and I turned it into a business plan, and I don't know what to do with it, but it's called Prasad Points. But it's basically incentivizing positive behavior in that, because we all have a value, and we all have, something that we can share that can contribute, and that should be the measure of value rather than these like monetary things. And back in the day, they used to use cacao beans. It's like money. So let's go back to that. I'd be down with that.
Yes, I was in Costa Rica in one of these communities for 10 days for a silent retreat where everyone contributed. There was no money. But there was even school for the children where the teacher would be teaching, but the gardener would bring the fruits and vegetables to her. So, like it was based all on energy exchange. And they solved most of the problem just by that community living and love for each other. And so, yes, I definitely believe that escaping the matrix would be by creating these conscious communities.
Yes, we don't need to escape the matrix. We just need to create something better. Some people are so glued to the matrix that they'll never leave. But
definitely
they're still invited to come.
Together, really being that conscious communities is beautiful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on to the third eye, which is our third eye. It's our sixth chakra. It is also our sixth sense, and it's governed by our intuition and our ability to translate or communicate with the universe and to understand the signs, the synchronicities as a guide to help us align with our higher selves. It's also where we can easily project if it's imbalanced as well. So how do psychological projections distort intuition and perception?
Yes, so this is interesting. The third eye is a lot of people have very good intuition, but they don't allow themselves to be guided by the intuition, so it becomes clouded, and if we had all open third eyes or this third eye chakra, then we could all tap into the higher consciousness and be guided and, just live in a sort of a higher living, higher consciousness. But in this world, it gets clouded too much, which causes psychological problems for people. So mental health issues show up here. So whether it's bipolar, schizophrenia, or a lot of the other mental health problems actually show up here. So, and this comes from my knowledge, on working with the energy centers. I can clear a lot of that through the third eye chakra.
Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to touch on this. I'm sure that a lot of my viewers know, but just in case they don't, our intuition is, when we can see things. With our eyes closed, we basically see and sense the truth. And sense is the word that I want to touch on here, because it's not just through your vision. Some people get intuition, intuitive hits through, hearing things, or maybe they just know things, claircognizance, or they sense things, or they can smell things. So it can show up in a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. And there's different ways to also strengthen it. But I feel that it's a really blocked chakra, because people are so, as you mentioned, thinking with their head and in these routines and structures that aren't allowing us to be in that flow state in which the intuitive hits can access us more easily.
Yes, it is exactly. And most of the mental health problems, even depression, we can clear by tapping into the pituitary gland, because the pituitary gland is here. So even when people have brain tumor, I can work with the pituitary gland, activating it and opening it, and it actually clears the intuition. And there are also psychedelics that target this third eye area and open it and regenerate the transmission, because really what happens that these transmitters, they close, so the neuroplasticity closes. I also teach about neuro change. I am a master trainer in neuro change method, and these areas need to be stimulated in order for people to, for the brain health, and the brain health is also mental health, and so keeping the third eye sort of active and energetic is what allows people to have a healthy brain for a long time, healthy mind, and also to keep the the depression and mental health challenges out of the way, so it can really help, so and some of the psychedelics that are now the research is on, they have facilitators who even in hospitals nowadays, they facilitate and they start rewiring the brain. So it's really quite.
I have a doctor friend who does mushrooms for antidepressant treatment.
So it's very fascinating, and there is a lot of research that is now being done, and so there is a lot happening in the psychological world where we are integrating a lot of knowledge now, the Eastern knowledge and the Western knowledge, which is important. Because if people are taking antidepressants, it's just numbing them. I see
imbalance in your gut, which is going to throw off all your other not only your chakras but your whole system. So
and I see people, they come in with depression, and I know already they are taking so many drugs. They take in the morning something to stimulate them, then at night something to sleep. So and we can just make huge difference by lowering the doses, because when we start working with the somatic experiencing and tapping into that, it's incredible what we can get to, because a lot of the medication is just numbing. It's just numbing the pain, So that's why we like to bring in the Eastern practices, the meditation, the mindfulness living, and all of the yoga philosophy, all of that. When we integrate all of that, it really does make a difference for people's health,
Yeah. Coming back to the third eye, so, it's true about psychedelics. I can attest to that as well. But the pineal gland is also associated with the third eye, and it's very calcified in a lot of people. And it's also there's a few things that can calcify it, but fluoride is one of the biggest calcifiers of the pineal gland, and people have been conditioned to think that we need it. I have arguments with my dentist about it, because she's gone through the system. But this fluoride that they're putting in your teeth and in the water is not naturally occurring fluoride. I don't even want to get into it because I don't want to get banned, but you can look it up. But anyways, it's very important that we focus on decalcifying our third eye, and that can come through Kundalini awakenings, that can come through vibrations. I even heard about colloidal silver, but I don't like to recommend that, because it's a little controversial, and I don't have any experience in that. But that's also really going to help us, because I feel like that's part of why so many people have a blocked third eye, is this calcification. And also, we did touch a little bit on, unresolved trauma and the psychological projections that we can create. That can really filter out our perception of the truth. Maybe we even sense something, but because we have so much of a wall put up through our projection, what role does that play in our self-deception or our spiritual bypassing?
Yeah. Well, sorry, I'm not sure what your question is, Angela.
I was just asking, okay, so sorry, I go on these rants. How does our unresolved trauma, or the projections that we have as a result of something about the world around us, so sometimes maybe we're getting intuitive hits, but we don't trust them, or we deceive ourselves, and or maybe we spiritual bypass because we have these filters that block our intuition, even if we're getting it. Some people are actually getting them, but they ignore it. I just want to.
Yeah. So just trusting the intuition, that's what I do with clients, really throughout our sessions. we discuss how they can start trusting their intuitions again. And that really is a huge, a lot of the times just realizing that they can trust will allow them to make the changes.
Okay. So for anybody that's like, what is trusting my intuition mean? Like, let's give some people signs or like ways to help them start to tune into that.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Just I would recommend just go for a walk with your dog or something and really allow yourself, what does my intuition say today? Which route should I take? And it's so interesting because maybe just allow yourself to feel, to experience, oh, maybe I'm going to try this different route today because I know I'm going to meet my friend at the coffee place or at the matcha latte place, and just throughout the day, do a little exercise where you allow yourself to make something outside of your routine,
Right.
Yeah, just say, and it was so interesting. I was just recently in Hungary, in Budapest, and I went to a bachata evening, and I somehow didn't feel like, this was good for me. And I said, I'm just going to go on a different route to get home. And I ended up at a salsa party 10 minutes down the road. And that was the best night of my entire, visit to Budapest because, and I just followed. Sometimes we have to be okay with feeling disconnected or I'm not feeling good in this place. I'm gonna just leave. Sometimes leaving a job, you feel, I'm not feeling good, and the discomfort. Just be comfortable with the discomfort. Realize it, recognize it, and go on a different path. And maybe you will be rewarded with a much better path. Sometimes we don't know the end of. Being comfortable with not knowing the end can create that beautiful discovery, and that's only because you're following your intuition. Sometimes you don't know the end result, but you just have to trust it. This time I'm gonna, even if it's if I have this feeling, I'm gonna try to follow it. I don't know what the end result, but so
I like that. So what you're saying is like basically being in flow. It's when you aren't in your regular routine that is when you are open to receive these intuitive hits. And it's when you're doing things that you feel guided to by what feels good or what makes you curious. It's the unknowing, and it's that in that unknowing is when you're open. And other ways to test it as well could be to think about somebody and see how long it is before that person reaches out to you. Like that's a very, very common one. So there's a lot of different things that we can do to help us tune into our intuition. And the more that we learn to trust it, or we use it, the more that we trust it, and then that will actually really shape how we can navigate the world, because you're navigating at a much higher sense of knowing and seeing and experiencing, not just in this material, which is very limited and dense.
Yes.
Okay.
I had a client.
Oh, do you want to add anything before we move on?
I had a client yesterday. He asked me, what happens if I take this Reiki class on Sunday? Well, he said, my parents will not believe in it because it's not like a career path that they see. I said, I really don't know what's going to happen after Sunday, after you take the Reiki class, but I do know that you are gaining a beautiful gift of self-healing and healing others, and that can lead you to anything. And I told him that you just have to trust your intuition. If you were guided here to take the class, then take the class. Sometimes you don't know. How do I know if somebody is going to be a Reiki healer? We don't know, right? It's all about if you want to, if you were led to take the class, it will open other gates to you. So that's and he realized that he actually is an astrologer, so he is going to combine his astrology with Reiki, and that's how he's going to help people. But then, he's kept doubting himself. And I said, just listen to your intuition. If you were guided, then stick with it. Don't go back.
Yeah. Okay, so now we are moving on to the crown chakra, which is just above the head. The crown is where we have a soft spot on our head when we're born. It's where the soul enters and leaves the body when we cross over. It is our connection to spirit, and it is governed by our sense of faith and also surrender and ego disillusion, because it's the oneness of everything, knowing that we are a collective consciousness. Okay, so let's deep dive into this. How do you see the ego's need for control interfering with our spiritual trust or our faith?
Yeah. That's a good question. I mean,
well, you actually just gave an example with your guy.
Yes. Yes, the crown chakra is very beautiful, because when we feel the vibration, that's when we know that we are connected to our higher self, and the crown chakra can be really nicely opened and developed with meditation practice. So many people start, like my father started meditating at the age of 60. And since then, he has discovered so many beautiful results from it. So the crown chakra really opens up the channels to our higher self, to our spirituality, to understanding our sense of existence on earth and what our higher purpose is. So it's really connected to so many wonderful things.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think is the psychological difference between surrender to the divine or just being passive and just letting things go by?
Yeah, I think is when we are in that higher consciousness, we look at ourselves as an observer, as Buddha did, and then we become detached from the day-to-day emotions that may be pulling us down. We realize a higher purpose. It's like going up on an airplane. That's how I would describe the crown chakra. When you fly on an airplane, you look down and things become into better perspective. So when my clients start meditating, that's when they realize, oh, I'm not so stuck in this workplace, or I'm not stuck in this relationship. I can make a change. I am a much greater person than just this problem, because when you are in the problem can feel huge. And that's how people psychologically cannot take the pain anymore. But when they start meditating and becoming into the crown chakra, really opening the crown chakra, then they say, oh, you know what, this is just a tiny little thing. I can make a great difference, and I can change my life into a positive way. I can, I have had clients who decided to move away from the busy Toronto to a different place, and they are much happier, so people can really make changes when they look at things from a broader perspective. And that's all the crown chakra.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So since you've mentioned somatic healing a lot, and all the different body work and different types of tools we can use to kind of regulate ourselves and our system, our chakra system, how do you find faith and divine trust can become an anchor for our nervous system regulation?
Oh, it's a very good question. So when you trust in God or in your faith, it's just letting go of the fear. I have one client, she comes to me, she's, dealing with a lot of stress, and she goes, I don't know what my mom does. She just believes in Jesus Christ. And she, and every answer to her is that, you believe in Jesus, and that's going to be the answer. And her mom has the best life, because any problem comes up, she believes that it's going to be. So it's not about who you believe in, but your faith. You can believe in Buddha, you can believe in, in any religion, but it gives you that kind of letting go and just allowing the trust to come in. And this client said, I want to become like my mom, but I cannot, I cannot let go of the fear. But she always says that faith is really beautiful to see on somebody. When you see somebody really having that faith and going through all the challenges, through thick and thin, having the faith, even in a relationship, I see sometimes when people just have the faith in each other, no matter what happens, I have faith in my husband, I have faith in my child, and just having it through thick and thin is gonna give you the liberation.
Well, it's also kind of reminds me of with the faith, it's like we're not a body. We're a soul and we have a body, right? And so when you're so connected to the crown, it's like you and that soul essence. It's not about the physical or the material, because everything that happens, here in this material world or on earth, it's kind of just like a testing ground. It's like a play, and this is just how we choose to navigate. And as a result, this life that we're living is just a manifestation of that, right? But when you have that crown chakra and that all of these other things are so superficial, you don't really need to worry about them. It just gives you this sense of strength and empowerment to do things in alignment with the highest virtue or with your higher self, because that's really what our crown chakra is for, to help us align with that.
It's so interesting that our grandparents and ancestors, they knew also the power of prayer. So I can usually detect energetically if the grandmother prays for one of my clients in Italy or India or any country, because the power of prayer can be detected in the energetic field in the crown chakra. It's so powerful. Yeah, prayers are like
for us, or if they're praying.
Pray a simple prayer. It doesn't matter what religion, but the prayers by themselves create a positive energetic field. Like when grandma prays for the son or the daughter, it shows up in the energy field. It's so beautiful, So these things are not really, it's not part of the modern world. It's all been around for thousands of years. And
I really believe that, because I'm very friendly and I always talk to people, and everybody is always like, oh, bless you, or good luck, and I always feel like that's a blessing, because I'm having that intention and those words. We know, words cast spells. So if you are kind and benevolent to people and you receive that energy back, that in itself is your own protection, because your dharma protects your karma.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very interesting, I love visiting Portugal, Italy, or any country. I've been to India too, and you just feel that people believe. Or like I love going to Thailand. There are a lot of Buddhist monks, and when you go to these places where they are saying a lot of prayers every day, it's just like being in this vortex, and that all comes from faith. Right? Because they believe that if they pray for somebody's health and wealth, it's going to manifest. And so that's how I feel connected to my higher self. And that was actually my first trip, to India, Thailand. That's where I first felt that kind of higher frequency spirituality. And that's what really drew me in, that there is something more to life than just, this physical world. And if somebody wants to experience, their higher crown chakra, I recommend doing some pilgrimage or going on a meditation retreat into the Eastern world. That's where you really get to be transformed, like even Steve Jobs, right? When he first went to India, he experienced the first type of awakening. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Marta, for sharing your wisdom, compassion, and your radiant insights. Your work reminds us that true healing isn't just about shifting the mind, it's about harmonizing our energy centers and what flows beneath it. And to everybody listening, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that this conversation inspired you to look within your own energy centers and to listen deeply to what your emotions and your body are trying to tell you, and to honor that sacred connection between your mind, body, and spirit. And if this episode resonated with your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps continue to grow the channel and to help spread conscious community around the world. And you can connect with Marta through her therapeutic practice, which is Aligned Souls Psychotherapy. She's also known as Alternative Healer Toronto, which is her other business as well. And you can find her on Instagram as Heal with Marta. And if I'm missing anything, Marta, you can tune that in right now, but I'll put this in the description as well.
Thank you so much, Linda, for shining your light on this earth. And thank you for inviting me. I appreciate your gifts.
Oh, thank you so much. And until next time, everybody, stay grounded, stay radiant, and keep feeding your chakras. Peace, love, and infinite blessings.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.